There is so much of crowd in the temples. Everyone is praying. Why? Because you want something. And after the exams are over, then you completely forget whether the temple exists or not. That is known as circumstantial faith. There is some circumstance, you accept there is Lord. Then there is something known as firm faith. So one story comes to my mind, and I'll tell you. This is about the man who always wore a tilak, and he went to his office. Many other people also were wearing tilaks in the office. That company was bought over by a new owner, and that new owner was a Muslim. Now, the moment he took over the company, he made one announcement that anybody who comes tomorrow wearing all tilak and all will be removed from work. Everyone panicked. Arey Baba, job security, we need the job. What to do? So the next morning, he came and he personally checked. Everyone was not wearing a tilak except this one person. And he went up to him and he started asking him. And he said, I firmly believe in God and I firmly believe that He maintains me. Whatever will happen as per His will. I'm not wearing the tilak as a show. I'm wearing it because I actually feel that I am at the lotus feet of the Lord. Tilak generally signifies that you're at the lotus feet of the Lord. That's what the tilak signifies, being at the lotus feet of the Lord. So he said, that's what I genuinely believe. And that answer really impressed the new boss. And he made an announcement. Everybody from tomorrow, please note, only this one man is allowed to wear the tilak because he actually firmly believes in it. So that is what is known as firm faith. Then you have some people, like I knew this one doctor. He was opening up a new clinic. And he was an absolute atheist. Huh? He just didn't believe in God. So when I went for the opening, and I was surprised, there was a Satyanarayan Puja. And I was like, what are you having a Satyanarayan Puja for? Because I knew he's an hardcore atheist. So he told me, look, my family told me, do the puja. Right? So if God exists, he'll be happy. If he doesn't exist, it cost me just 3,000 rupees. So what is the harm? So these are the kind of people who basically use God as an accessory. You know? And a lot of people don't believe in God for various reasons. So typically, there are three reasons which come to my mind. Where first and the most important reason God doesn't exist is, it's like, I don't see God. When I don't see God, how do I know He exists? First, most common reason, you ask anybody, they'll say, what is the proof of existence of God? I don't believe because I don't see Him. Second are the people who say, okay, you show me some proof that He exists, right? I don't see Him, but you show me some proof, then I'll probably believe. That's the second category who don't believe. And then the third category are the ones who say, Arey yaar, if God was there, why would there be so much cruelty in this world? Why would there be all these disparities, so on and so forth? So today, we will look at answering the first two kind of people. The people who say, I don't see God, right? And the second who says, show me some proof, Baba, that God exists. And the third kind of people who say, why is there cruelty, this, that, we will take in the next session. Okay. So today we're going to essentially discuss 4 proofs about the existence of God, right? And we'll take them one by one. So the first proof of existence of God is simple. First, before that, let me ask you a couple of simple questions. Most of you all will know these. Let's see. Who invented the telephone? Anyone? You all would have learned this at some point of time. No problem. It was Graham Bell. Okay. Who invented the steam engine? James Watt. Telescope. At least this you all will remember. No? Radhika, Sarang, Navneet, no one. Chinmay, Arushi, no one. Okay, Galileo. Rings a bell now? Ah. Who invented the light bulb?
Thomas Alva Edison.
Ah, good. Thomas Edison. Thank you. All right. So if I were to tell you that all these things came automatically, nobody created it, would you believe me? Would you? Yes or no, Baba? If I tell you no, all these things came automatically, will you believe me? No. Right? Similarly, some of the scientists say that this world came into creation without a creator. There was just one big bang, and suddenly this entire creation came into existence. Now, does it sound logical? If I were to tell you that there is this big construction company called the Big Bang Company, all right, and they put up a big dynamite and they blew up an entire building and an entire area, right? And the next day, 100-story building was ready over there. Will you accept that point? That there was a big bang, they blew up everything, and the next day there was a big 100-story building. Illogical, right? Similarly, these are the people who are saying that there was one point which burst and everything came into existence after that. Now, it's so illogical. Whatever you see around you, for example, we know satellites, right? They are seen all around and they go on a particular orbit. But we understand that. But we don't accept the fact that every other planet is also going on its orbit. Who launched this? Did anyone launch it? Then how come they are going in a particular orbit? Why doesn't Jupiter say, today I'll go in Saturn's orbit? Why? They follow a particular orbit, right? So we understand that just like humans made planes, and that's why they can fly, how can birds fly? How? Who gave the fragrance in the rose? Who created all these beautiful nature? Who created this? Worth asking, right? Worth thinking about. All these beautiful trees, all of this. So essentially, it kind of reinstates the point that creation implies a creator. Nothing comes by chance. So essentially, what these scientists are saying now, like how we say everything came from God, these scientists who came up with that Big Bang theory say everything came from that point. So they replace the word God with the word point. That's all that essentially that they are saying. And they're not accepting that creation implies a creator. Now, the same logic we can use for a second point, second proof that God exists. All right. Laws imply a lawmaker. Now, just like when you're at the red light, you stop. When there's a green light, you move on. So that's the law of the state, right? You have to stop at the signal and you have to move when it's green. So the very fact that the signal is there, it implies that there's someone behind the signal who's made that, right or wrong? Right? So if there is a law, there is a lawmaker. Now look at any of these laws, whether it's at the railway tracks, whether it's at the air stations. Now, why is there no cohesion? There are so many planes flying. Everyone is moving perfectly. Why? Because there's someone who's made these laws where everything works perfectly. So when there is a law, any of these laws, somebody's made it, retraction, refraction, all of these, whether it's laws of mechanics or laws of the world, everywhere it's very clear that where there is a law, it implies there is a law maker. And not only law maker, he's also the law keeper, right? They also ensure that the laws are enforced correctly. Let's look at the third reason. Now, the third reason is organization and order. Now, whenever you see anything which is working perfectly, it means that it's in order, right? So, for example, Edison, he failed thousands of times before actually coming up with the light bulb. Now, Imagine the light bulb gives us light. And what about the sun? One rays of the sun has so much of energy that has been utilized in the entire creation since time immemorial. That's the kind of energy that the sun has. Now, where did that energy come? Who gave that energy to the sun? Worth thinking, right? It has to come from somewhere. Now, for example, Diwali or Christmas, you all go to sleep one night. The next morning, if there are gifts around your bed, do you think they just came by chance? Is it possible? Someone has kept them, right? So invariably, it's your parents who kept them. Or if you're going out for studies, suppose you go to a university and you're staying there and you receive a parcel, the courier boy comes to you. Is the courier boy actually the giver? No, he's just delivering to you something that has been sent. Will you thank him or will you thank the sender? So you need to understand whatever we are receiving, it is coming from somewhere. And that itself shows there's so much of organization. Everything is systematic. Everything. Just look around you. Whatever is working in perfect conditioning. Everything is in order. Like in India, you would see this site very common, which is known as a syntax tank or a water tank. Above independent bungalows, you have these tanks, or even in buildings, you have these huge tanks. Now, these are the tanks that store water, which comes down. Now, someone has made this. What about these clouds that store millions of gallons of water? How did they come? And how do they not leak? How do they retain the water perfectly? It's worth thinking, right? If that's in order, means there is someone behind that. Look at a Tetra Pak. We consume Tetra Paks every day, right? But don't we understand that just like there's someone who's packaged the juice into it, what about a natural mango or an orange? Who packaged the juice into it? Why, how come it's in perfect order? How come it doesn't leak? It stays there perfectly. Worth thinking, right? So organization and order is the third reason. Now the fourth reason. Design implies an intelligent designer. Giraffe. Look at the characteristics of a giraffe. He has a very long neck, we know that. Do you know his heart is 11 kgs in weight and 2 feet long? And why is that so? Because they have to pump up blood. What does the heart basically do? It pumps blood, right? And the blood goes to the various parts of the body. Now, the giraffe has such a long neck. So the blood has to reach the head. And that's why it has such a big and heavy heart, so that when it pumps, the blood can go right up the neck. But when that same giraffe bends down to drink water, what happens? The heart is still pumping. If that heart were to, if the brain is still functioning, and the heart is functioning, if the heart pumps so much of blood to the brain can burst at this angle. That is the reason there is a one-way check valve, and there's also a sponge. What essentially happens when the giraffe bends down, the blood is pumped, but the sponge absorbs it, and the one-way check valve stops it from going into the brain. And when the giraffe goes up again after drinking water, it is released. So can you beat this designing? Kya perfection hai? Is it possible to have such perfection without a real intelligent designer being behind it? Is it really possible? Possible? Do you think so? No. Let's look at some more creation. A small little bird. They fly thousands of miles. All right? Their wings have to hold the weight of the bird. The bird is light, but the wings are so delicate. That is the reason it needs to flap its wings 75 times every second. So can you imagine the kind of flapping that it does? Only then can it maintain its weight. And thereby it does millions of beats, wing beats, and it can fly such long distances. Now, again, what perfect designing, what accuracy. It's hard to believe, but that's what God's creation is. Look at the camel for that matter. It can live without water. It can store over 130 liters of water. It has transparent eyelids. Why it has transparent eyelids? So that when there is a sandstorm, it can still survive in the desert. It has long legs so that it can walk through the desert. Now, all of this designing for that particular location, right, is so perfect. Now, you all may have seen bats. Have you ever seen bats zooming past? There are like hundreds of bats who are zip zapping, but they don't collide. And why don't they collide? Again, because each bat emanates a particular sound, and that sound has a particular frequency which differs from the other bats. And that's the reason they don't collide. No matter how fast they go, they'll not collide. Such perfection has to be a designer and has to be his intelligence. Now, these are the micro aspects I'm talking about. Look at the macro aspects, okay? The globe, the earth, if it were to rotate a little faster or a little slower than what it is, what would happen? There could not be any life on earth. Why? It would become either too hot or too cold. So again, life would not be possible. Such perfection. Hard to believe, but this is the way it is. So when you understand all that, see, when anything, if it was not the way it is, like let's take the case of the earth only rotating. Besides heat also, there would have been tornadoes, there would have been tsunamis, there would have been so much. Now, having understood these four reasons, right? Creation implies a creator, law implies a lawmaker, organization and order, there's perfect organization and order. And the last one is design implies an intelligent designer. Now, these logical proofs are there, but there are still some people who say, nahi yaar, can you show me God? Right? Show me God. So if somebody really says, show me God, that person should ask himself three basic questions. First question, who are you? Means like, who the hell are you that you should be able to see God? Right? For example, I want to go see the PM. Why? I just want to see the PM. Can I just go up to the PM and will I be allowed to enter? That Darban will say, Baba, kaun hai tu? Who are you? Go back. Right? So you need to have some qualification. But if a big industrialist or somebody like that goes, he will get an appointment. Why? Because he has that qualification. Similarly, we have to ask ourselves, Baba, what qualification do you have? If you don't have qualification, how can you really expect to see God? Now, second thing that we need to understand is the second question actually that we should ask ourselves is that to do anything, are we willing to follow a process? For example, if I want to see God, there is a process. If I want to, in fact, anything I want to do, I want to remove juice from orange. There is a process, right? I want to, any such things if I want to do. For example, water, 2 molecules of hydrogen, 1 molecule of oxygen. But if someone says, no, I don't accept it, then what will I tell him? Chala, let's go into the lab, actually physically do it, and then you will see it. There's a process. But if he says, no, I don't want to follow any process, just show me water. It's not possible. It's not feasible. It's not logical. So this is the second thing that we need to ask ourselves. Is it, do we have that process that we're willing to follow? And then the third thing is our state of mind. Now, we have impure mind and impure consciousness, like it's contaminated. So it's when there is haze around, you cannot see things clearly, right? Similarly, our mind is hazy. It is contaminated. So unless we really purify it, right? Till then, our mind is actually wild, it's uncontrolled. Till the time we actually purify it and then try and focus, that's when we'll be able to do. If I were to give you a simple example, there was this story comes to my mind. There was once this man, he was very learned. Uh, um, he had good control, but he said he went up to a sage and he said, "No, I want to see God. Can you help me?" So the sage looked up to him and he said, and he was like, "You know what? I know meditation. I have focus. I can this that." He started, blabbering and saying how good he was. So the sage said, "Okay, we want to see God. For 7 days, you do one thing that I'll tell you to." Said, "What? Tell me. After 7 days, I'll be able to see God." He said, "Yeah." So what is the thing I have to do? I'll tell you. Said, for 7 days, just focus on your mind and tell your mind, don't think about the red-faced monkey. He said, "Okay, no problem. I'll go and do it." He went back.
You
Said,
know,
fast. Yes. Yes, Sarah?
what very, sir, Prabhupada didn't understand what did he say.
Sorry, what didn't you understand?
Like, what did he say now? You have to do what in 7 days?
This example that I'm giving you or the first one, what did you not understand?
No, what did you say? Like, what to not do in these 7 days?
I'm not getting your question. I'm so sorry. I can't hear you clearly on that.
Like, I didn't hear what did he say. The man said to the other man that what to do 7 days to see God.
I'm not able to get you only. Just send me on the chat. Just tell me what's your question. I'm not able to hear you clearly.
Is to say that what did the sage told that what we need to do for 7 days.
Okay. Fair enough. Now I can hear. So the sage told him, he went to the sage and he said, "I want to see God," right? So he said, "Okay, you want to see God? I tell you, you do one thing for 7 days." Then that man said, "What do I have to do?" He said, "You have to focus for 7 days on not seeing the monkey with the red face." What do you have to do? Not focus on the monkey with the red face. That's it. He said, "Okay." So when he went back, he tried and he came back after 7 days. He said, "Sage, I tried so hard, but every time I think not to think of the red monkey, that red face monkey only comes." He said, "Okay, fine, no problem. Try doing it for 7 hours." So he said, "Okay, I'll sit right here and I'll try." But then in between, he opened his eyes. "I can't." He said, "Okay, chal, fine. At least focus for 7 minutes. Don't think about the red face monkey." And he tried again, but he couldn't even do that. It's actually very difficult. Do you all want to try it? For the next 1 minute, if I tell you, shut your eyes, try and focus, and don't think about the red-faced monkey. Try it. Shut your eyes. Don't think about the red-faced monkey. 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 Please don't think about the red-faced monkey. Don't think about the red-faced monkey. I'm tired now. Any of you all managed so far? Sarang, you actually managed? You didn't think about the red-faced monkey? Wow. If that is the case, it's really good. What about the others? Navneet, did you manage to do that? Wow, you kids are good then. What about Arushi and Chinmay?
Prabhu, I think the trick is to get your mind off what you're saying, to think about something else.
Think about something. Okay. So basically, the mind is easily distracted, right? So it's hard to kind of control it. So the point is, that is again one of the drawbacks. We need, see, to be you need a certain level of purity in anything. So as I was giving you the example, if there's a mirror and it is covered with dust, so you will see yourself very hazy. But the moment that dust is cleared, that's when everything becomes crystal clear. So if we want to see God, firstly, we need to get qualified. Secondly, we have to be agreeing to follow a process. And thirdly, we have to know and ask ourselves, is our mind really pure? Only then we will be able to actually see God. Okay. Now, there is another way of looking at understanding that the creator exists. That is known as the theory of cause and effect. The effect, what do you see in the picture? A fan which is running. Okay. How is it running? The cause is not the fan. The fan by itself cannot run. It is essentially the electricity which is coming. That is what is making it run, right? And the electricity doesn't come from that switch. It comes way behind from a powerhouse, from where it is being transmitted via wires, and that is the way it's running. Similarly, if you see an arrow that is shot, it is but obvious that if I'm seeing an arrow, there is someone who is shooting that arrow. So there is a effect that you see, and there has to be a cause behind it. Another example, when you see puppets, you all have seen puppet shows, right, as kids? So you see the puppet dancing, but is it really possible for the puppet to dance on its own? No, there has to be a puppeteer. When you see someone wearing a beautiful pearl necklace, you see the pearls, but there is a thread that is actually holding the pearls together, which is not seen. But it is understood that without that, the pearls cannot hold by itself. So this is the theory of cause and effect, which makes us look around and we see the effect of things. But we need to understand there is a cause behind it. उसके बाद उसके अलावा होने नहीं वाला. And therefore it is said that the unseen is proven by whatever is seen around us. Right? The unseen is proven by whatever is seen around us. Okay. So now let's go a step further. Now, how can we acquire knowledge about God? So typically, to acquire knowledge about anything, there are three ways. The first way is pratyaksha praman, which is known as seeing is believing, right? Or using your senses, you understand that this thing exists. Okay. But we need to understand that are our senses perfect? For example, how much can you hear? Human beings can hear whatever is in the range of 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Anything above that and anything below that, we cannot hear. Anything below and above, we are deaf to those vibrations. It's not possible. Right? Touch. Dry ice. Ice. Dry ice. It's supposed to be cold, but when you touch it, it gives you a burning sensation. So again, your touch sense is imperfect. Now let's look at some examples. What do you see in this? Please, the ones who've not answered also participate. Arushi, Chinmay, what do you see in this?
There are many things going around. There are like two people, and again there are two young people in their faces, and in the old man's face there is another person from a door.
And then there's an old woman also, right? So
Yeah.
anybody else sees anything else? So basically, different people will see different things. What comes to your mind? Somebody will see an old man, somebody will see an old woman, somebody will see someone from the door, somebody will see someone playing a musical instrument. Now let's look at another case. Look at it carefully and keep looking at it and tell me what you see. Is it moving? Is it still?
Moving.
It's moving.
Moving. It's actually still. It's actually still. It's not moving. It is our eyes that makes it feel that it's moving. So this is another example. Look at this third example. What do you see over here?
A bridge.
A bridge. Okay. Anyone else sees anything else?
It's
Both.
sailing through the ocean.
See, somebody else sees a sailboat, right? So different people are seeing the same thing differently. So our eyes are also imperfect, right? Now look at the tongue. So for example, if I have orange, okay? So sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's sour. Suppose we have a sweet orange, okay? But then after that, I have a little lime. And then I taste the same orange. Will it be the same taste? It'll be sour, right? But it's the same orange. Earlier it was sweet, now it is sour. Why? That is again the imperfection of the tongue. So whether it's our ears, whether it's our eyes, whether it's our touch, whether it's our tongue, all our senses are imperfect. So when we understand that, that's the first way of understanding is pratyaksha. But our senses are imperfect. And we have this tendency, because our senses are imperfect, now we become illusion. Right? When they are imperfect, what will happen? I'll not understand, Are yaar, is this a boat? Is this a bridge, or what is it? You know, I have that confusion. And then because I'm illusioned, I tend to make mistakes. And when I make mistakes, I tend to lie also. Correct or wrong? So many times, you all would have experienced this, like a teacher comes and suddenly the class is making noise, and the teacher will ask, who made that noise? The first thing that will come to from your mouth is, I didn't, teacher. I didn't do that. Right? So that's a natural tendency that comes. We have imperfect senses and we are thereby illusion. We keep making mistakes. And then to cover up those mistakes, we have this cheating propensity. So therefore, this pratyaksha, that means going by your senses, is a wrong way of trying to acquire knowledge. Because your senses are imperfect, the knowledge that you acquire will also be imperfect. So it's not the best way to acquire knowledge. The second way is known as Anuman Praman. What is Anuman? Anuman basically means guesswork. Now, guesswork is just simple guess. Now, for example, I'll give you another story, so then you'll understand this example better. So, once there was three doctors. They were on a hospital building, and in the lunchtime they were sitting and chatting, and each one was boasting about what they do. One was a neurosurgeon, the other was a psychotherapist, and the third was a orthopedic doctor. So they were standing and they were boasting about themselves. Hey, I did this, I did that, blah 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 blah. And so then they saw one person who was entering the hospital and he was limping. So while he was limping and walking, so the first guy, neurosurgeon, said he has some issue in his nerves. Uska kuch functioning barabar nahi hai. That is why he's limping. So the other guy said, "Are pagal hai kya? You're nuts." Not at all. Simple case. His bones. He has definitely a bone issue. Either it's a fracture or it's something to do with that the orthopedic said. Then the psychologist said, "Arey Baba, not at all. This seems to be a mental disease, and that is why he is limping." So this way, all the three were arguing. They said, "Arey Baba, what is the use of arguing?" And then they landed up betting and all. So let's go and ask this guy only. So they went down rushing, and at the entry they caught this guy. He said, "Arey Baba, why are you limping? Is it because of each one said whether your mind is this or whether you've broken your foot, blah 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 blah." And that man is looking at the street doctor, talk talk talk. What is wrong with these guys? He said, "Baba, nothing like that. Mera to chappal toot gaya hai. That is why I'm going like this." So this is what guesswork is. Pure anuman, like that Big Bang theory. Okay, what is that Big Bang theory? And anuman, an estimate, a guess. Everything came from that point. Or for that matter, even that Darwin's theory that we evolved from monkeys. What is it? It's proven false today, but when it was in existence, it's just pure mental concoction, pure guesswork. So this is the second way, again, a wrong way of trying to understand God. Now, the third way is Shabda Praman. That means from the scriptures, right? So the earlier ways are basically inductive ways, where you try to find out what is right, wrong. And Shabda Praman is a more of a deductive way, when the knowledge is coming from a higher source, and you understand that it is right. Why? Because it is coming. So, to give you an example of Shabda Praman, today, when we all heard about the Chandra Narayan, right? The satellite that reached the moon, or we heard about the floods that came in Himachal in India, right? All these things come on news. I am not there. I haven't seen the satellite personally, but when they come on news and the people who are giving that particular news, we accept their point, right? Why? Because we know it's coming from a particular authority. That is the reason we accept it as valid. Correct or wrong? Right or wrong? It's coming from a particular authority. That is the reason it is accepted. Similarly, our scriptures, they have been coming down from generation, passed down from one generation to another in sequence. And that is the reason we need to accept our scriptures, because they are apaurushya, means there is no interference of humans. It's come from the Lord. Now, many people say, Are Baba, but scriptures were written by humans only, right? So, how can I have proof in the scriptures? Now, firstly, it is written by Vyasdev, who's not a normal human. He's a literary incarnation of the Lord. That is one aspect of it. Secondly, typically, again, we have proofs why scriptures are, you can have faith in them. The first thing is, whatever historical facts are there, they have been proven to be true. Like our scriptures mention the word bhugol, right? Bhugol basically means round. And it is mentioned in our scriptures that the earth is bhugol. Till few years ago, what was the understanding? The understanding was that the earth is flat. Just till a few 100 years ago, maybe. But our scriptures were written so many years ago. And there the word Bhugol is given. Another example I'll give you. Today, we have embryology as a subject, right? Now, embryology talks about the womb and the development of the child in the womb. Now, this is historical information, as I told you, about Bhugol. This is about embryology, about a child. Now, today, embryology is giving all the stages of development. But if you go back to our scriptures, detailed description, second month, what happens to the child, how the embryo goes, third month, this change happens, sixth month, this happens, everything is given. What people are saying now and seeing on various scanners, that same description is given in our scriptures. And all of this was written thousands of years ago. So there's so much of historical information. Now, besides this, the cow and its properties. Like today we know, and we say cow, every part of the cow has some advantages. Not only the milk, the dung has medicinal value. It can ward off mosquitoes. There is so much to it. The cow urine also has something, which is advantages. The hump of the cow, that is very special because the filament of the sun is captured by that hump, and it produces a particular secretion which is called solitin, which is very nutritive, and nowhere, it's called Surya Nadi. That hump has Surya Nadi, and that is what captures it. And that gets into the milk of the cow. And that is why if you see milk, when it is churned into ghee, it has that golden color. Why does it have? See, milk is white, but when you make ghee, it becomes golden. For this reason only. Now, all of this is getting discovered today, but it's given in our scriptures. So historical information proves that trees have life. Another example, plants have life, right? Now, this was proved by Jagdish Chandra Bose, right? His name was. But our scriptures have said since time immemorial, Baba, plants have life. There are hundreds of such examples. Now, the second reason the scriptures are important because they're instruction manual. They give us all details, like how a phone's manual will tell you, Baba, aise phone ko use karo. Our scriptures exactly tell us human life, how you should use, what you should do. Everything is given. And the third important reason is apt Vedic predictions. The scriptures have given us everything thousands of years ago before it happened. Jesus Christ is mentioned in the Atharva Veda. Prophet Muhammad is there in the Bhavishya Puran. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance is mentioned in the Mahabharata. Gautam Buddha, Chanakya, Emperor Ashok, and many, many, many such examples are all there in the scriptures. In fact, scriptures also mention in Kali Yuga how the focus will be on hairstyles. And today you see people have all these weird hairstyles. And the scriptures mention that. People mention that the life will get smaller, shorter. Weird things happen. They eat human fetus. Can you believe it? But it's happening and it's mentioned in our scriptures. 12th Canto Bhagavatam gives all these details about Kali Yuga. So this is the third important reason why scriptures are to be believed, because they have given all apt Vedic predictions. And that is the reason even scientists today, in NASA, do you know, there are 2 Sanskrit scholars who are there to study the Viman Shastra. They are only decoding what is written in that Shastra and they are trying to use that in all their discoveries. In NASA, there are these Vedic scholars. So that's adequate information for us to understand that scriptures have to be followed. Now, having understood about God and scientifically that God exists, and we've taken this earlier also, that there is one God, and how multiple people call God by different names, and therefore there are multiple religious books. Sanatan Dharma is the Oxford Dictionary, the others are pocket dictionaries, but essence of all religion is the same. Let's understand a little more about when we say if God is one, but we keep hearing about all the demigods. There are so many demigods, right? How do we understand the demigods? Anyone? Anyone has any idea? How do we understand all the demigods? Lord Ganesha, Brahma, all of them. Yes, Chinmay, please go ahead.
Therefore, I think that all the demigods are also material, and they are also not permanent. While there is only one God, and he created everyone else, so they are also material, but they may have a superior position than us. But they are also material, while Krishna or God, he is permanent and he is the supreme enjoyer and creator.
Beautiful, very well said. So you've given the wonderful difference between the two. Perfect. But what role do they play? Why do we have demigods? Anyone would want to can think, why do we have demigods? Okay, let me explain. So you have a company, say any Amazon, Coca-Cola, any of these companies, right? So you have a CEO, and then under him you have a production manager, dispatch manager, marketing manager, HR manager, this manager, that manager, right? Why? Because to run such a big organization perfectly, work needs to be delegated, right? So there are different departments, different people handle. And then what does the CEO do? He just overviews it. Sometimes he's just chilling. That's exactly the position with the demigods. They are administrators of the universe. So to put it in corporate lingo, Lord Krishna is the CEO, and all the others are different designations, but very important positions. So like the Department of Light is handled by Surya Dev. The Department of Heat is handled by Agni Dev. The Department of Water by Varun Dev. Vegetation by Chandra. So the taste of the vegetables that we eat, the nourishment, and that taste comes from Chandra, the moon rays. Did you all know that? It's a very interesting fact, yes. So air, Vayudev, he handles the air. Finance is handled by Lakshmi Devi. And Kubera handles the entire treasury universally. Durga Devi is defense. Kartikeya is the head commander. Education department is by Saraswati. Placement officer, किसको किधर भेजना है? Yamlok or going to Brahmalok, wherever. Swarga, Narga, wherever. That's the placement officer. Construction of everything is Brahmadev. Every day when he gets up, he has to construct. So, essentially, now we come to the differences. As you rightly said, Chinmay, there are many demigods, but God is only one. All the demigod positions are temporary, like Indra for that matter. Now, Indra is not the name of a demigod, it's the name of a position which keeps changing time to time. But the Lord is eternal. All the demigods, or most of the demigods, reside in something known as Swargaloka. But Lord Krishna is in his eternal residence, that is Goloka. Now, in Swargaloka, why is it temporary? Because you fall down after a particular period of time. So, Swarg is like a 5-star resort. So, say if you have 1,000 rupees in your pocket and you go to a 5-star hotel, what can you have? Say, one juice or something. But if you have, say, 10,000 rupees, you can probably have a nice meal and all. If you have 1,00,000 rupees, you can probably stay there, a couple of days. If you have 10 lakhs, you can stay there maybe for a month or so. If you have like a couple of crores, you can stay there for a couple of years. But someday when your money gets over, what will that 5-star hotel guy say? Thank you very much. Tata, goodbye, go. Right? Swarga is exactly like that. You can stay there till you have your pious credits. Punya, as we call it, the good deeds that you do earns you that punya. So till the time you have that pious credit, you can live in Swarga. After that, Tata, goodbye. Come back over here, again accumulate and go. So it is temporary. Lord Krishna is the enjoyer. All the demigods are administrators. They keep doing something or the other. Kaam pe hai, something they have to do. Right? So, we understand that, as I told you, the Vedas, Vyasdev is not an ordinary person. He's a literary incarnation. And when he wrote all these scriptures, he was assisted by none other than Lord Ganesha. And the deal, when they were writing the Mahabharata for that matter, was Vyasdev will keep dictating. Lord Ganesha said, only till your mouth is on, my hands will be on. You stop, I stop. And Vyasdev said, okay, Baba, accepted. But my one request, please write only after understanding and agreeing. If there is a doubt, please, I will clarify to you. I am dictating, but if you have a doubt, you ask me, I'll clarify that to you. So Lord Ganesha said, okay. Whenever Vyasdev wanted a break, he would give one difficult verse, which would have multiple meanings. And Lord Ganesha would actually take a break, understand, and then, write further. So again, this proves that our scriptures are not just anything. It has been approved by the demigods. So Lord Ganesha is brilliance personified. So when he is accepting it and only then he is noted down, be rest assured that things are factual, true and factual. And yes, last but not the least, these are all temporary demigods and Lord Krishna is eternal. And the Lord exists. Again, he has proved it in the last so many years by showing his leelas. So we all know how he helped Draupadi, right? But you may say that happened 5,000 years ago. That was another yuga. Aaj kya ho raha hai, Baba? Today. Now I'll tell you another short story of what happened a few hundred years ago. Now this is a story of Udupi Krishna, where there was a devotee known as Kanakdas. He was ardent devotee of the Lord, but he was born in a lower caste family. And thereby the Pandits over there didn't allow him to get inside the temple. But he would religiously come every day, stand at the back gate or back wall, and just pray and pray and pray. You will not believe, one fine day, the deity actually turned towards the back of the temple. The deity turned 180 degrees. And today, that entrance is the back entrance, and you still see the window. They made a window from where Kanakdas would stand. So the deity of Udupi Krishna actually turned 180 degrees for his devotee. This is his reciprocation, and it's seen. There's one more story of Sakshi Gopal. It's a long story. I'll tell you in short. There were two Brahmanas. Both had gone on a pilgrimage. There was an older Brahmana and a younger Brahmana. The older Brahmana was having difficulty. The younger Brahmana helped him throughout the pilgrimage. The older Brahmana was so happy. He said, "Arey Baba, I'll marry my daughter to you." The younger guy said, "Arey Baba, you are way exalted. Your family is higher position. I am not so apt, to marry your daughter." He said, "No, no, no, no. You've helped so much. I'm giving you my word." And he said, "Hello, you're giving a word in front of Gopalji." He says, "Yes, I'm giving you a word in front of Gopalji that I will marry my daughter to you." And that younger Brahmana said, "Okay." And when he went back, the older Brahmana, he told his family, "I found this guy." The family was flabbergasted. They said, "No, no, how can you marry him? He's much lower." And his son actually revolted. He said, "Nothing doing." And this man was sad. He said, "What do I do now?" When that younger Brahmana came, the brother of the of his to-be wife, he refused. Said, "You go do what you want." The matter was taken to the panchayat. And the panchayat asked that younger Brahmana, "Is there any proof that he gave you a word?" He said, "There's only proof of Gopalji. He gave it in front of Gopalji." And that son of the older Brahmana said, Go get Gopalji. Only then everybody will accept it." This man, younger Brahmana, was in a fix. He actually went back and he said, "Gopalji, it's not that I want to marry the daughter, but he will go and suffer because he made a promise to you and he's not fulfilling it. So for his sake, please come." So Gopalji said, "Baba actually told him, I can't come. How can I leave this position and walk with you? I can't come." And that younger Brahmana said, "Gopalji, if you can talk, you can walk. Please come." And his love was so heart-touching that Gopalji actually agreed. And the deity moved with the Brahmana. He just told him, "You don't look behind. You keep walking, you'll hear my ankle bells." So they kept walking, and they finally reached the edge of the village. And that's when he didn't hear the ankle bells, and he turned around, and then Gopalji stopped right there. And then he went and he called everybody and he said, "Gopalji is here." And Gopalji gave Sakshi. And that is why today that deity is known as Sakshi Gopal. So this is all proof that if you call the Lord with your heart and soul and you have the purity, you can see God and he reciprocates. So today we will stop over here. Next time we will try and understand, in our journey, we will move a little further and we will try and understand how we can, the third aspect that I told you, how is God so cruel? How are all these bad things happening around? That aspect we will understand. And we will also touch upon the fact we've understood God, we've understood creation, we've understood all of this, but we need to understand a little about ourselves also, right? So the next session will be on these two things. One will be the karma factor as to why God or bad things happen even to good people. And the second will be understanding about ourselves, who we are. Okay? So we will discuss that next week. Now, quickly, any questions or any comments on what we've discussed today? Anybody has any doubts? Especially the ones who didn't put on the camera. Were they awake? Were they sleeping? Or were they watching the match side by side? Anyone, any questions, any comments, any questions? So please let me know.